Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords, and I have had a busy week. So, Baptism of Fire, my brand new OSR RPG, medieval authentic, set in Poland, 11th century, and it has done enormously better than I could have expected. It's just been gangbuster sales. It has been number one or number two on the Drive-Thru RPG bestsellers list for the entire week, and now we're on week two. It's still, right now it's number two, I believe, at least at the time I'm filming this. And it has gone, in hours, it went to copper bestseller, then it went in less than a day to silver bestseller, and in I think 5 days to ELECTRUM bestseller, and so it's obviously going to go to gold next. It's doing incredibly well, and there's a huge buzz about it, and thank you, first of all, to everyone who has bought Baptism of Fire. I really appreciate it, and I love all of the responses that I have gotten to it. So today I'm going to talk about a few details about the book, about what you can get as additional stuff that Mad Scribe Games has put out. Oh, hey, and it's a meatball. Hello, meatball. Hi. Yeah, are you in charge of this? Are you taking over, meatball? Is that what's going on? Okay, welcome to the show, meatball. Yeah, okay. So, let me see where meatball's at. I'm going to talk about some of the things you can get for Baptism of Fire right now. I'm going to talk also about the people who are unbelievably furious about Baptism of Fire. They are seething at my success, which are, of course, all the people who have hated me since forever. But it's going to be fun to take a look at this, right? So to start off, you can pick up Baptism of Fire and Drive-Thru RPG, where you can get it in soft or hardcover, premium or standard color. And you can get it with the PDF, obviously. If you go there, you'll also see in the Mad Scribe Games page on Drive-Thru that you can now get, aside from the book itself, if you want, as a separate product, you can get the map of Poland that is included in it's a hex map of Poland in the 11th century. And you could get the form fillable character sheet, because there's a character sheet in the book, but it's not form fillable, and some people asked for it, and Mad Scribe Games has gotten that to you. So thank them. I don't have anything to do with that, but thank them for having given that level of customer attention. I really think it's good. Right now, Baptism of Fire is as close as you can get to 5 stars in the rating. It's only had, I think, 1 3-star rating and 2 4-star ratings maybe, and then everything else has been 5 stars. So some really nice comments from people here. I'll start with the good side, right? The nice stuff, right? Justin says, "This is amazing. There was tons of research into the history of the area to make this product setting more authentic. Just reading it is fun." Jim says, "Finally, Eastern Europe gets some attention. I love reading this book and looking at the amazing art." Dale says, "Pundit's done it again with a well-researched, well-thought-out product that takes you into the world of the 11th century Poland on the dawn of the Middle Ages with one back foot still in the Dark Ages. Slavic myth meets good old-fashioned OSR gaming. A beautiful color product full of evocative art." You know, these are excellent reviews. I couldn't do ad print as good as this. Carolina says, "As a true Polak, I had to buy this game, so I did. I love the PS Dynasty." Victor says, "Love the setting and love the implementation of the OSR rules. Great book." Matthew says, "Incredibly interesting and well-researched. A toolbox with so many fascinating hooks. Can't wait to get this to the table." Piotr says, "Unique setting along with authentic rules will let you experience something new. If you're looking for something that is outside the regular fantasy box, this is a great choice. Setting is a mix of history elements with a bit of pulp fantasy, so there is no necessity to read through historical literature. Everything you need is in the book. Highly recommended." Piotr's right about that. Everything you need is in the book. Felipe says, excellent book. Pundit just keeps getting better. This brings together most of his streamlined and refined OSR rules from Lion and Dragon into one package and adds a setting that can be described as The Witcher meets the Vinland Saga. Hey, that's really good. Thank you, Felipe. Chris says, I got my physical copy today and boy is it a looker. I really love how well made it is as a product. It feels premium made. I, for one, do not mind AI-generated graphics, but I do agree that some of the coherence is lost, but the book feels extremely well made. Given how much lore there is for the medieval Poland, I say it is worth the price of admission for that alone, but it is not everyone's cup of tea for sure. The mechanics are Lion and Dragon 2.0, so not much to complain there either. To me, it's a solid product that's absolutely worth the money, and we should support small publishers and writers. Vote with your wallet, etc. I'm very satisfied with what I got, and I'm sure plenty of you will be too. Would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a slightly different setting and maybe want to learn a bit of history while playing a TTRPG. All right, well, those are there are more, but I don't want to keep going with this when there's other stuff to talk about. But thank you to everybody who has rated the game and put a review. If you bought Baptism of Fire on drive-thru and you've had it for more than 24 hours now, as in, you paid for it more than 24 hours from now, I guess. You can go there and you can give it a rating. And of course, the more ratings it gets, the better that is for the product placement. So if you want to support me, that's a very good way to do so. Just pop on there. You don't have to write a review like these guys did. You can just give it 5 stars if you want to. Or, of course, you can say something if you do want to. And maybe, who knows, maybe in a future video or live stream, I'll quote your reviews. But no guarantees there, right? So that's all the positive stuff. There's a lot of other positive stuff. There are some YouTubers and people on X that have praised the game, including some people that I wouldn't have expected, people that don't particularly care for me, but that have, like the James Gang, has the presence of mind and the objectivity to separate the creator from the product, right? And his dislike for the creator does not affect his perspective of whether it's a good product or not. So the James Gang did a video on their channel where they were raving about Baptism of Fire, and that's not a guy that likes me very very much. He's more on the side of the bro SR. And I try to do that same thing. So I have respect for him on that. For example, today is Cinco de Mayo, and we all know that for various reasons, the basic expert is not basically a fan of mine. But in my case, and I'm not I've got serious criticisms for him, right? But I would separate him and his business from his product, right? I'm not going to say his Aztec game, Aquaidal, I'm not going to say that sucks just because I don't like him. Especially if I suspect it doesn't suck. Now, I haven't read the book, but everything I've seen about it suggests to me that it's probably quite good, right? So I'm not going to say, just because I don't like this guy, that his game sucks. Unfortunately, not everybody, in fact, most people, are not that objective. So you have 20 years accumulated worth of people, mostly on the left, but also some from the far, far right, like the Bro SR, Jeffrey Johnson and company, that have hated me and have many of them have been constantly predicting my impending collapse, my disappearance into irrelevance, my demise, the failure of all of my aims. And it's been something consistent from year one, basically. Year one of being RPG Pundit. There were people saying, oh, this guy, nobody's going to read his blog. Who cares what he thinks? He's just a troll. And I became the most read RPG blog that year, And they said this about the RPG site. Oh, he's taken over the RPG site. It's going to be dead in 6 months. And in 6 months, it was one of the biggest RPG forums around. Oh, Meatball's heading off back into the wilderness. Good luck, Meatball. They said, oh, he's never going to amount to anything. He's not a relevant figure in the industry. And I started to make games, and those games started to do well. And they're like, yeah, but nobody takes him seriously. Then I became the consultant on 5th edition. It's just every single time that they've tried to put me down, they come out of it more humiliated. And these guys have been saying this for many, many years. And of course now, Baptism of Fire, like it has been my biggest success, right? Now, the thing is, I've had a lot of successes in the OSR and in recent products, you know. But Baptism of Fire is, I think, a different level of noticeability because of it hit it's number one for several days. In fact, it's, in terms of core rule books, it still is today the number one best-selling RPG on drive-thru, right? And that means it's effectively the number one best-selling RPG out of any RPGs that are not mass-market corporate games, right? So, like, you know, at this moment. So, that success is something they just can't cope with. And believe me, their attempts to cope are hilarious. So I have found that there are people, you know, obviously on X, on Twitter, and it's hard to go back and figure out where these guys were, but there's a bunch of people using, you know, all the same, and you're going to see the same story here in terms of the things that they say, that are claiming, you know, that I'm, well, obviously, you know, one of the funny things is obviously that they're going to claim that I am a 1930s German fan, right? Which is really funny. Because, I mean, of course, they've been saying that utterly false and despicable claim against me for decades now, right? Like for almost 20 years now, literally. And it's nonsense. But at least at one point, they were able to say that with a kind of straight face, right? When they were the left. But in the year of our Lord 2024... like every single one of the people who are making that claim against me are also chanting from the river to the sea, right? They have become the 1930s German people. And, you know, they're the ones supporting the rioting kids in the universities who are chanting, you know, death to, right? So... yeah, that's funny. And it's also funny that now almost the probability of a person who dislikes RPG Pundit also being a person who hates Jews has reached like a peak state, right? because you know, obviously on the right, the pro-SR, we already know what they think about Jewish people, right? So now it's like everybody... if you hate RPG Pundit, that's almost a guarantee that you're an anti-Semite, right? Like, almost. It's not 100% universal. There's some people that don't fall into those radical left or radical right camps that might hate me for other reasons altogether. But it's a big percentage, right? Because it used to be that they also, like, the left always, the radical left has hated Jews at least since the 1960s, you know? So they've always been that way, but they always tried to pretend they weren't. And now they're just stopped pretending, so... This lets me treat all of them with an equal style, not just level, but also style of contempt, which makes it a lot easier for me. So I'm kind of grateful that they've gone that way, because now it makes it a lot easier for me to treat them both equally, the Bro SR and the far left, you know, story gamer crowd can be treated as the equal scum that they are. So, but then of course, so what they do is they start threads in the places where they feel safe, you know? And that includes, you know, Reddit and the OSR Reddit, N-World, and what the heck is going on here? Oh, damn. Okay, I was trying to get to the Reddit thing here, but it looks like I might not be able to. Oh, okay, no, I think maybe. All right, I think we got it here. So somebody had posted on Reddit, let's start with that one, Baptism of Fire, a brand new OSR RPG, and it showed the cover there, and it was a link to a 5D blog, which as best as I can tell is a kind of news aggregator of RPG stuff, and I guess because it was on number one on drive-thru, it automatically did that or something, I suppose. I don't know very much about that page. But it's not, you know, a left-wing or right-wing page. It's clearly one of these kind of just info list pages of RPG stuff. And so the first thing that comes on there is someone going, Ara Twilight says, I think it's worth mentioning that the author of this game is RPG Pundit. Yeah. Somebody else says, well, what relevance is that? You know? And then you get 11 like replies of making up complete bullshit, you know. He called literal neo-Nazis heroes. No, I never did. I called someone a hero for punching a would-be communist murderer. Okay, it had, there was no element of it of me supporting neo-Nazism in that, you know. Told designer Cam Banks to commit suicide. Well, Cam Banks, I never told him to do anything that he wasn't himself suggesting in an article he wrote. Okay, that wasn't, like, you know, this is not, Cam Banks was saying that basically white people can't leave soon enough. Okay, and I said, okay, well, go ahead, leave. You know, like, that's all I said to him. Then they say other stuff. I mocked a victim of sexual assault. I don't have any idea what that even refers to. I have no idea what that accusation is. Presumably, I called some leftist a name, and that leftist claims to have been the victim of an assault. I don't know, but not by me. I have nothing to do with that. So how's that relevant? You know, like, that's like saying, well, you know, you mocked someone who was a survivor of the Columbine shooting, right? I was like, yeah, but I didn't mock them for that. I didn't even know they were that, right? Like, how does that matter, you know? They claim I like to lie about my role in the design of 5e, except that, you know, the proof is there. Nobody has ever tried to deny it who has the ability to deny it. And you know, I've made my case very clear of what it is. And I do have all the emails still, so this is why no one chooses to deny it, right? Because they know that I have the proof that it's true. And then aside from that, he's just a blowhard who's wrong so often it's a mystery anyone takes him seriously. When am I wrong? It's very rare. I mean, it does happen sometimes, and whenever it does, I do say it, right? But I've been right about almost everything. You look back to 2005 and you look at the things I've been saying regarding the gaming hobby and regarding, you know, what I called the swine back then, because we didn't have a term for wokeists. And I was right. I was absolutely right 20 years ago. People 20 years ago said, you know what? Pundit is right. We need to stop these people right now and here. This hobby would be a totally different place, right? So it's kind of ridiculous. Then, of course, they're trying to, like, dox me about other places I'm on and things like that, which is just ridiculous. They say that I'm lying about being rich and famous. Well, I've never said I'm rich or famous. I am kind of famous in the RPG world. Reddit has done a gigantic thread about me. You know, that's kind of RPG fame. I'm not famous otherwise. And as far as being rich, well, you know, I would say right now I'm pretty well to do, but I'm not rich. I'm not a millionaire, if that's what I'm not Andrew Tate. Like, what are they trying to claim here? This is just ridiculous. Let me see what else. Oh, now, of course, like, by the way, I've never heard almost anyone say bad things about the cover of Baptism of Fire. I wish I had it here right now to show it to you. But, of course, it hasn't arrived yet for me because shipping to South America is complicated. But I could tell you that nobody said anything bad. Like, the cover is so beautiful, except, of course, people that are looking to get at me with it, right? So here someone says, well, you know, I could tell that this guy is who this guy is just by the cover he's got, you know? Well, first of all, I didn't make the cover, you know? I had nothing to do with making the cover. And second, like, I don't know what he's saying. Like, it's that, okay, is it heavy metal, you know? Is it that are they accusing me of being like a fundamentalist Christian or something like that? Which I'm not, you know? I'm not sure what they're, a historian. And in a different part of this thread, they also, and I've seen a few people do this, right? Which is really funny because it's people who think they know a little bit about history or military history or what have you, and then are actually wrong because they're really just nerds, right? Who don't really have an actual education, but they think they do because they think they're smart because they think nerds are smart. So these guys, there have been a few people who have said this. That have said, oh, the cover's all wrong because that helmet is an ancient Corinthian helmet and it's got nothing to do with the Middle Ages. It is not. Check it out. If you've got Baptism of Fire, you got the PDF, or you get to look at the image, right? You can find it all over the place. I've been posting it all the time on Twitter, right? Look very closely. Look up what a Corinthian helmet is. It's like, those are those ancient helmets, right? That is not a Corinthian helmet. I can see how some people who know very little would believe that that's a Corinthian helmet, but it is not. That is, in fact, a helmet of a style that existed in 11th and 12th century Central Europe. That is a fairly accurate, it's AI, right? But it's a fairly accurate representation of a type of helmet that existed in that exact area. That's a little bit, if you wanted to criticize it, like if you really wanted to be like critical of the cover, you could say that helmet is slightly late for the period in which the supposed picture takes place, because that picture is almost certainly a picture of Boleslav the Brave fighting pagans somewhere, and during his reign, and that's between 991 or 992 rather and 1025, right? And that helmet is a helmet that would not have been very common in any way. It existed probably by then, but it would not have been common, right? But then again, Boleslav the Brave was the king of Poland, right? So if anyone could afford it, it's him. And if anyone would have traveled back and forth, because remember, Boleslav in this time was constantly invading when he wasn't being invaded. He was constantly invading Germany or the Czechs, right? He was invading Bohemia and the Holy Roman Empire. And so for him to have picked up a helmet along the way from the slightly more technologically advanced Germans or the Bohemians would not have been very hard. So the whole argument about the helmet breaks down. But I've heard many people making that claim, mostly people who, played some video games about Greeks or something and think they know everything about helmets now. But it's not. They're wrong. A lot of people, there was a ton of replies on this. RPG Pundit equals hard pass. And those people always have little icons that make it really obvious that they're people you wouldn't want to leave your kids with. And then a lot of people saying, well, the RPG Pundit is well known for his asshattery, but not for his games. He's been at it for 2 decades and has done no work, right? It's like, what? Okay, let me present you, it's a pity I don't have Baptism of Fire with me, but let me present you 3 of my lesser known products, okay? Here we have, the oldest one here is Dark Albion, Cults of Chaos, a generator by which you can create your own chaos cults and bad, witch cults and heretics and all kinds of evil people in the context of an adventure for your medieval authentic campaign or your fantasy campaign. Dark Albion, Cults of Chaos is a gold bestseller on DriveThruRPG. World of the Last Sun, a compilation volume of various RPG Pundit Presents issues. World of the Last Sun, I don't just do medieval authentic stuff, right? I also do weird fantasy gonzo gaming. And World of the Last Sun is my setting book of the campaign I've been running for 11 years now. It's the longest campaign I've run. It's longer than any Lion and Dragon campaign I've done, longer than Sword and Caravan, obviously, longer than Baptism of Fire, obviously. It has been my Last Sun campaign. And that is a guidebook with a ton of weird stuff and places and things that you can run as a single setting or you can bring into your own games to add to the weirdness. World of the Last Sun is a gold bestseller, okay? Social Encounters Along the Silk Road. Tiny, tiny book. It's very thin, right? It's, I think, under 30 pages. I think it's 28 or 24. I don't know. Something around there. And this is just a rule modifier, a rule guide for you to do social encounters in OSR contexts. It's like in playing classic style D&D stuff. Using the reaction roll tables, but with a wholly expanded version of those rules that make it really easy for you to judge as the DM without the player characters having to have social skills, right? Without just rolling +10 diplomacy. For them to judge based on their role playing, based on the reaction rule and based on modifiers that are appropriate to the situation, how well or badly a social interaction that a player character has with an NPC or with multiple NPCs goes. This little system has been really useful to a lot of people who sometimes have trouble adjudicating how social interaction should go in their game and don't want to just be arbitrary about it, but also don't want to have people rolling social skills or rolling charisma and then just saying, well, okay, I succeeded, so now the guy does what I say, right? So Social Encounters on a Single, great little product. I think it costs like $9.99, something like that. It's really cheap. You can pick it up on DTRPG Gold Bestseller, okay? I probably have more DTRPG bestsellers than almost any other author whose books are on DriveThruRPG. There's none I could think of that has more than me. There might be some, but none that I can think of. Not counting, maybe legacy products. I don't know, Gary Gygax probably has more bestsellers than me, but I don't know, because there aren't that many of his products on there, really, but maybe. But, I have had an enormous impact. I'm basically now the most visible face of the OSR. Me, maybe Jim Raggy, maybe James Desborough, right? Maybe Venger, right? Those are it. We're the OSR front line now. We're the avant-garde. Kevin Crawford, so there's a few of us, but everybody knows who I am, right? And these assholes who make massive threads on Reddit, on 4chan, on N-World. I don't know if they did one on RPGNet, but that's because I just wrecked RPGNet so bad they don't even want to talk about me there, right? So on N-World, the biggest complaint was about AI. It was interesting how each one has their own little culture, right? Reddit, it's about, he's a 1930s German, right? On N-World, it was mostly about saying, well, it's AI, doesn't matter how good it is, because there are a lot of people that have reacted well to the fact that Mad Scribe pointed out. The AI that they're using is AI that is all influenced by a specific catered set of data of artists that have been dead for a very long time that are mostly Slavic artists. I don't know if I can show that. Yeah, there we go. So that's an example from the book, right? So these are all Slavic-inspired art. It's not just random art, right? It's art that has been done to create the Slavic style of Baptism of Fire. And so it's actually, and there's nobody's art that was inputted into the program that is still alive that would be, that is being cheated in any way, even though I don't really accept that argument that it's cheating. This isn't the same. But the publisher said that, and a lot of people have reacted well. But of course, there are some of the hardcore artists here that are deeply opposed, And then, there's some guy that comes out, his name is Jaden, says some nice things about it, and immediately you have people like, oh, Jaden, why do you always simp for the worst people in our community? So there's some serious hatred there and on N-World. But mostly in this thread, they mainly seem to be talking about how the AI art is bad, right? Although there are a few others, right? Here's Gus L. says, this is the typical Urbanski product. Overwritten, derivative, bland aesthetically, and lurching towards the worst sorts of 1990s excesses. Okay, so that's very funny. Overwritten, I don't know, maybe. I do have an academic style, right? So if you don't like that style, I can understand that, right? I tend to put a lot of detail in what I write, and that makes it sometimes difficult, right? I just had the other day a gamer that was reading my Invisible College book, and he was like, yeah, I can tell that you know all this like pretty much by heart already, that you didn't have to do a lot of research on it, but it makes it really complicated because here you have this like elaborate detail about this style of magic, and then you have one part of the mechanic of what you have to do in the ritual, and then you go into detail about the next part of this style of magic, and so like he has to read through a lot to get to the basic mechanics. That's a legitimate argument, rather. That's a legitimate complaint that you can make, that maybe what I should have done is been more careful in separating the flavor parts from the mechanics for quick lookup, right? That's a very legitimate way to make a statement. But just kind of overwritten, and I don't know what he means by derivative, right? Nobody has ever done, as far as I know, a medieval authentic Slavic OSR RPG or any kind of RPG. Maybe in Poland they have, I don't know, but not in the English world, and certainly not in the OSR. You know, so what am I deriving? Am I being derivative of D&D? Well, I mean, it is an OSR product. I'm an OSR guy. But other than that, there's nothing derivative about this. Like, you will not find the type of magic that I use here anywhere except in Lion and Dragon, in my own products. This is something that only I have created for the OSR. And other people might be copying me now in certain ways, not in as authentic ways, but in other ways. And that's fine. But, you know, like, there's the monsters, the magic items. None of this is coming from, like, old TSR books, right? It's all coming from my own imagination and creating these products out of the inspiration of the medieval setting and legends, right? If you say it's derivative of history, obviously, and it's derivative of mythology, yes, but those aren't bad things. That's the problem. People that think those are bad things are morons. They're the people that produce worthless product. You know, it's really funny. I think I will have to skip, because of how long this video has already gone, the one on 4chan. But as you can imagine, it was even more bad in every sense, right? In terms of the people making it crazy. Of course, the ones on 4chan, a lot of people there were on the other side, right? There were some of the people that are on the right side of, or on the right wing side of the pundit hater club, you know, who are complaining about my simping for certain peoples and things like that, you know, like, so it's even less legitimate stuff, and it's less important stuff. Let's face it. We can skip 4chan just because they aren't really significant in the bigger picture, right? Not 4chan itself, the channel, but the type of people who are making the criticism of my product on that channel. They're not the ones that come from the people that are in power, right? Whereas the left side of the criticism are people that are currently backed by the institutions and therefore need to be criticized at every possible turn. Yeah, the other ones you can just kind of ignore or laugh at because they're pathetic jokes. So I guess that's everything for today. I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked this little glimpse at the world of my detractors and how pathetic they are. They will continue to have to suffer, because like every time that they think that they're getting me somehow, I end up doing something bigger than anything I did before. And here we are again. And here it is again. Baptism of Fire is the biggest RPG this week, right? It's the biggest RPG around in 2024 so far. Go and check it out. You are not going to regret it. It's badass as a game. Everybody loves it. And you can pick it up right now on DriveThruRPG. You can also check out all my other products, like the ones I named here and all my other games. You can find those, most of them on DriveThruRPG. But also check out the Pundit Files series, which are short PDF products available only at the Red Room. The latest Pundit Files, number 11, I believe, is historically authentic cities, which allows you to understand more about what real cities in the Middle Ages were like. And, you know, it's got a lot of that over-wordy writing of mine. And it tells you a lot about, like, how the guilds worked, what the churches are like, what the confraternities were, what crime and punishment was like. But more than that, it has a system that you can use to generate a city, not block by block exactly, but neighborhood by neighborhood, that'll fit a medieval authentic mold for your, you know, world creation purposes. So be sure to check that out. It's available only at the Red Room store, like all the Pundit Files are, and it still only costs about $3.50. Okay, so take a look there. And if you haven't bought Baptism of Fire yet, you're not totally sure, well, that's okay. But I think that the signs are that it's a great product. And meanwhile, at the very least, well, check out the character sheet, check out the map, right? They're pay what you want, so, you know, you can pay what you want. And then you've got another glimpse at the greatness that is Baptism of Fire. That's why I'm all for those little bonuses because people who haven't bought it yet, who aren't sure, like, when you look at the map, that, you know, if that doesn't convince you, you're not an OSR gamer. You know, that's an incredible map. And I had nothing to do with the designing of it. Anyway, that's everything for today. Currently smoking Nira Hawkbill, what a beautiful pipe, with Argento Roots.